Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Oh!
It's simply the way of the future.
An architect's dream is an engineer's nightmare.
It does open their eyes to opportunities.
It's weird to think that all of that was just catalyzed by an accident.
Usually we spend a good 120 hours aside from our typical school days.
It's all a great thing.
And welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, and other distinguished members of the audience. You're listening to VibeZ, a radio show produced entirely by Spartan Sound Productions, Central Union High's very own production studio. I'm your host, Daniel Montoya, and as some of you may know, VibeZ is a show dedicated to art, culture, and happenings here in the Imperial Valley. But this week's episode is a little different. We're going to be focusing on the STEM side of things here at Central Union High School. Now, for those of you who are not in the know, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Sure, it might not exactly be what comes to mind when you hear art and culture, but there's certainly something to be said about the contributions that STEM has made to the culture of the Valley and Central, and we hope that you'll see it after listening to this episode. We are also happy to bring you Violet Montes, a sophomore from Brawley High School who won first place in the state of California for migrant speech in both categories. We brought her on to not only deliver her speech, but to also talk about her experiences at the migrant debate and speech tournaments held in Monterey, California about a month ago. As you might recall, we had an episode to commemorate the event, but we weren't able to get her on due to scheduling conflicts. But we were able to this week, and we hope you'll enjoy it. Now, in terms of STEM guests, I was thankfully able to get a hold of a few of my friends and fellow students who are enrolled in STEM classes here at Central Union High School. In addition, we've also got Central's principal, Mr. Craig Wine, and Dr. Tacky, director of Spartan Sound Productions, to talk about our STEM building and the effects it's had on Central's campus and what turned out to be a nice little symbiosis between the arts and science. And to cap it all off, we have Mr. Pena and Mr. Ortiz, two STEM teachers here at Central Union High School, to speak on the importance and place of STEM in the Valley and Central. It's going to be a great episode, so let's dive in. First things first, we'll give the floor over to Violet Montes, who, as I mentioned, is a sophomore from Brawley High School, who called in to talk about her experiences at the state migrant speech and debate tournaments in Monterey, California, as well as to deliver her speech that placed first in the state. We are currently sitting here with Violet Montes, who has won first place in state for prepared speech. Was that correct?
Yes, prepared and extemporaneous.
Prepared and extemporaneous. So we brought you in here to talk about your experiences in Monterey, as well as to give the speech for our listeners.
Well, the speech competition in Monterey was very much a fun experience. I made a lot of new friends. I was grouped with this other girl, a senior from Southwest. She was really nice. This competition in Monterey, it was nerve-wracking, I will say that. It was a lot more different than the regional one. Instead of just presenting two judges, you presented to the students as well. So that was a new experience you have to get used to, and especially presenting in front of all those people as well, because the coaches were also sitting in. So over there in Monterey, there were 4 rounds for speech. You did the prepared one first, your first prepared one, and then you did 2 extemporaneous speeches, which is basically a speech you have to do in 10 minutes and present it to the judges, and you have to make it in a time frame between 2 and 4 minutes. And then the last round was your prepared speech. So for me, the prepared speeches weren't the ones that really gave me trouble, but more of the extemporaneous ones, mostly because some of the questions were hard. I believe one of them was, do youth lack opportunities for extracurriculars? I said no, because I do believe that we do have a lot of opportunities, but it was hard coming up with a whole essay in 10 minutes. And the prepared ones, I didn't really feel as nervous. You don't really feel nervous when you're up there talking. It's mostly just waiting for them to call on you. But once you're up there and you're saying your speech, you don't really feel those nerves. You feel confident in yourselves, you know. You have like a sure step. It's not really that nerve-wracking as many would believe. And I've been doing this for 4 years now, I believe. I started in 7th, and then I did it in 8th as well. And then I did it in my freshman year and my sophomore year. I think freshman was when I placed 2nd in the regional, and this year is when I placed 1st. So yeah, that's pretty much how it was in Monterey, really.
Okay, very well. And now we would like for you to give your speech.
Okay, so this is my first speech, and the prompt was, are humans primarily driven by self-interest? So here it is. How many of you went to college? Have you ever left one job for a better paying job? Have you ever gone to the gym? Do you ever wonder why you do these things? What drives you to make these decisions? Good morning, judges. My name is VibeZ, and today I will tell you why we are all driven by self-interest. In and of itself, self-interest is something we all possess. It isn't something that should be seen in a negative light, but instead a positive one. It drives you to take care of yourself and do things you're interested in. It's important to prioritize yourself before worrying about other people. You can't help someone without helping yourself first. Humans are primarily driven by self-interest for the following 3 reasons. It drives us to be better, it's a survival instinct, and it gives us a sense of control over our lives. Firstly, self-interest drives us to improve. We all want to feel confident and make a mark on the world. This isn't just motivation, it's our innate desire to better ourselves. It's what makes us human. Successful figures like Elon Musk, who are driven by the urge to make change, exemplify how this drive leads to achievement. As philosopher Adam Smith once said, every man is, no doubt, by nature, first and principally recommended to his own care, and as he is fitter to take care of himself than of any other person, it is fit and right that it should be so. This desire to improve, whether through personality or skills, is fundamental to who we are. It's the force that pushes us toward creating a better future for ourselves, and that is an irrevocable fact. Secondly, self-interest drives humans because it's a survival instinct that has been developed over time to ensure our survival. Our personal needs such as hunger, thirst, and sleep almost always take precedence over daily things such as our jobs. Our body is built to keep us alive. That's why when we're thirsty or hungry, it's the only thing we can think about. According to an article by the Harvard Business Review, it states, as we furless bipeds, human beings' strength lay in their minds. The thoughts and emotions that best serve them were programmed into their psyches. These thoughts and emotions would help them prioritize their survival over anything else. We are biologically wired to prioritize survival. This means that self-interest is natural. Thousands of years of evolution have made us develop this behavior to give us the best chance of survival. Thirdly, self-interest gives us a sense of control in a chaotic world. When life feels overwhelming, focusing on ourselves offers a way to regain some balance. Whether it's cleaning your space or treating yourself to a favorite meal, these acts of self-care help us feel more in charge. As Alberta.ca health experts note, when life feels chaotic or overwhelming, it can be easy to stress, but you can find calm in the chaos by doing things that are meaningful and joyful to you. End quote. Stress is a chronic illness that everyone is afflicted by, and it usually comes from the stress of everyday life. But by focusing on ourselves, we can combat this stress, which provides us a sense of grounded control that benefits our overall well-being. The opposition, however, might counter that people are motivated to behave by the interests of others rather than by their own self-interest. For instance, your mom is forcing you to do chores. This may seem as though you are doing for someone else, but you are still acting out of self-interest because you know that if you don't do the chores, you'll get into trouble, and you don't want your mother to scold you, so you're going to do what she says. The argument being made is that even when you are doing something to help someone else, even if it doesn't necessarily benefit you, you are still acting in your own self-interest, since you wanting to help is what drives you. To conclude, self-serving behavior motivates us to act for the following 3 reasons. It prompts us to improve ourselves. We are biologically wired to have self-interest, and this behavior gives us a semblance of control in our hectic everyday lives. While self-interest can lead to negative behavior, the good that this self-serving conduct brings you far outweighs the bad. Self-interest is something every human being naturally has. It is something that will stay with us for the rest of our lives. And that's my speech.
All right, very, very well said. We here at Valley Vibes are proud of the work that you're doing, and we hope you keep up the good stuff.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
And now we'll hear from Mr. Lyon, principal of Central Union High School, to talk about our STEM building, and Dr. Tacky, director of Spartan Sound Productions, to talk about the other changes it made to Central's campus and our programs, and what turned out to be a neat little series of side effects. I'm currently sitting here with Mr. Lyon, the principal of Central Union High School. Mr. Lyon, if you could just introduce yourself.
Hi, Craig Lyon, principal here at Central Union High School.
And we brought you here to discuss not only the STEM building, but STEM as a whole and its importance to not just the Valley itself, but rather Central's campus. So to begin, we're just going to go broad. What would you say is the importance of STEM here in the Valley?
Well, I think STEM is great in the Valley because obviously the science, technology, engineering, and math, those areas, especially in the career field and those students that want to go into college, I mean, you see that as a growing industry. And so it's important that we give our students the opportunity to excel in those areas based on what choice they make.
I see. And, well, you've already sort of covered the base of how it relates to our campus itself. But what about the building? Why did we decide to build a STEM building here?
Well, a couple of different things. I mean, obviously here in the Valley, Central Union High School has been here for a long time. And so our buildings were kind of outdated. So when we were starting to look at, what kind of buildings did we really need to look at, a STEM building, because of the science and math aspects of it, our buildings didn't have the capacity to take our students to the next level with that. We had students that were in biology classes and chemistry classes out in classrooms that were set up for English or math, or social studies. And so they really couldn't expand their opportunities in the classroom with doing labs on a daily basis. And so by adding a STEM building, it gave, we went from having, teachers out in trailers to old, outdated science classrooms to putting them in a state-of-the-art classroom that would allow them to excel and take their learning to a new level.
I see. And when you were considering the facilities of the STEM building, were there any parts that really stood out to you? Anything that you really wanted to improve?
Well, first and foremost is that we only had 2 wet labs in our old science building. And so one of the things is to really take those higher level science classes to a new, we needed to provide more classroom space. And so we added 4 wet labs. So we now have 4 wet labs that allow our students that are juniors and seniors to really go and take their AP courses to another level. And then we also wanted to make sure that there was enough space for a biology classroom. You take a trailer that's a lot smaller, that doesn't have the sinks, doesn't have the preparation rooms, doesn't have the chemical storage. So when we were looking at it, we're going, okay, we want to make sure every single classroom that a science student would go into was somewhat similar, that had the sinks and the storage and so on, to allow those teachers to be able to prepare those labs so they could have them on a more regular basis. Instead of doing a makeshift lab, we were doing the lab as it should be.
I see. And this is sort of related to Valley Vibes. Why not STEAM?
Well, we are looking at ways to add STEAM, obviously the art aspect of it. And, it's tough because you kind of have to make some decisions on the building because, that building is a $35 million building. And we got a bond through our Valley that voted for a bond. And it was, overwhelming, like almost 75+% of the community voted for it. But so we still are limited in space. And so we kind of focused in on the math and the science as housing it primarily, but we're also looking at other ways to expand, the arts. And so we are still finding ways, obviously with Valley Vibes. I mean, we didn't have Valley Vibes, and now you're looking at ways that we're expanding our existing classrooms. By moving things into the STEM building, opened up other areas for us to do different things. So we can hopefully get to a STEAM aspect of it.
Okay, very, very good. I suppose to close out this segment, This is more just a fun question. Are there any new renovations planned anytime in
Well,
the future?
absolutely. I mean, right now we're looking at our old math relocatables, that were put in the 60s. All of those are going to be removed, and we're going to put in new relocatables that are a little bit larger, obviously nicer, more state-of-the-art. And included in that, we're also going to add a double-wide relocatable that allows for some dance and some other fine arts things. And then also, we only have one art room where we have our ceramics, but we're going to add another classroom that will have sinks and so on to allow us to expand our art. By adding another art teacher, we will have 2 full-time art teachers, so we can expand that. So there's some of that that's going on. And then also just around campus, I mean, obviously we're looking at ways to find other locations to build in that, both on the STEM and the STEAM aspect of it.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Lyon.
Oh, you're welcome. It's always great to be a part of Central Union High School and the great things that we're doing here.
Thank you very much. Moving on from the STEM building itself, we brought in Dr. Tacky to talk about the other consequences of the STEM building being built here at Central, particularly its effect on the arts. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm Dr. Tom Tacky, and I don't know so much if they're consequences as much as
side effects.
Side effects, and that kind of comes off negative. I think that there's some really good things that happen. You had asked Mr. Lyon about why not an A in the STEM, because in a lot of cases schools are putting up STEAM programs. Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And the idea there is that the arts contribute greatly to the overall success of
the other
these
factors.
these technical types of programs. But really for us, the STEM building freed up a lot of space, and as the science and math teachers were moved from older classrooms that didn't quite fit their needs, it opened up spaces for people like me. And Spartan Sound Productions is what it is because of the building of the STEM. That I was provided with an older room that we put some carpeting in, some sound improvements. It's bright. It's a great atmosphere, and as a result, we're producing great songs, great things. We're producing Valley Vibes. One thing I guess that we didn't really mention is that the STEM building does have an amphitheater on the east side of the building, and it is incredible.
That's true. That's where we hold our lunchtime performances. All sorts of stuff, really.
The sound that comes off that stage is so good. It's it's an outdoor performance facility. It isn't like a full production theater like we have over at Southwest, but
it serves our needs.
It certainly serves our needs. It provides culture, atmosphere. It provides identity, and we use that part of the STEM facility all the time. We have rock concerts. We have
electronic music performances.
Yeah, everything. So it's really kind of a great thing that we certainly do work in consort with each other. It's not like, well, here's the arts and they're doing their thing, and here's math, they're doing their thing, and the robotics, they're off on their own. No, we share all the students, and the things that they learn in audio production, they're transferring over into other things. The things that they're learning in their problem solving and such that they're doing in the sciences and engineering, they're bringing that into audio production. So, it's all a great thing. So
yeah, it exists in this beautiful symbiosis.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just thought we should kind of throw that in. So thanks, Daniel.
Of course. Thank you, Dr. Tacky. Moving away from the building itself, I'd like to turn things over to a few of Central's students and friends of mine who happen to be going into STEM-related fields in the future to talk about the importance of STEM in their lives. I'm currently sitting here with Donovan Flores, who is enrolled in the Biomed program here at Central Union High School. If you could just introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Donovan Flores, and I'm one of the students here during the Biomed pathway, completing it this year.
All right, and we brought you in here to talk about what got you into STEM.
Well, I actually got into STEM really early on in my 6th grade year of elementary school. I had a teacher named Mr. Huerta, and when the classroom year barely started, he threw the textbook on the floor, kicked it, and said we won't be using any of that out loud, and everyone cheered. We all thought that was pretty cool, and instead he whipped out a bunch of 3D printers, VR goggles, computer building sets, game coding sets, what else? Just a bunch of engineering stuff, and basically just did that instead of the normal curriculum. And through that, I learned how to fix 3D printers, work with computers, and just a bunch of engineering stuff.
Right, and what do you currently do here at Central within the STEM programs?
I studied human body generally. Since I'm in the biomed pathway and in medical intervention, I'm doing EKG things. We're learning how to do EKG tests, read strips, diagnose, even though that's not in the scope of practice of an EKG technician, but just to learn. And then human body systems, we're just generally learning about anatomy.
Right, and yeah, right up until this year, you actually wanted to be a neurosurgeon, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've apparently changed your mind and have decided to switch over to electrical engineering. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I've always, since I was a little kid, been wanting to be a doctor. I love medicine in general, but looking more into it, I was dreading more and more the day would come to go to university and take a bio degree to get into med school, because I realized I would be working super long hour days. And I just really didn't want to work 10, 12, 14-hour days, come home and sleep and do it again the next day.
Right, and so you decided to switch over to electrical engineering. So why electrical engineering specifically?
Well, I decided to go into computer science instead of medicine, and I realized the market for that was pretty tricky right now, and I started looking into other aspects of things, and I realized electrical engineers also do a lot of computer stuff, but focus on hardware, and I saw a bunch of Electroboom videos and other fun electrical stuff, and decided I really loved it, and I started playing around with electricity and circuits and realized that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life.
Microwaving tin cans?
Microwaving, yeah, that's kind of cool. Seeing all the arcs, watching it no, that's not safe.
That's not safe, but it's fun.
It's pretty lit.
Right. So, so what would you say is sort of the importance to STEM in your life?
Well, I used to, before I took that class in 6th grade, I would just basically read books and play video games all day long. That's all I would do. And after that, I just started going out and just making stuff. Literally just building stuff in my garage just for the fun of it.
Doodads and gadgets?
Yeah, at one point I remember I made a wristband slingshot. I don't know why, but I did that. It generally just made things a lot more fun.
I see, and that love for tinkering kind of carried over not only just into a general love of STEM, but sort of that love for engineering that you're carrying with you. Yeah,
engineering is basically just in my opinion, the art of creation and solving problems, and I really like that.
Yeah, and the thing about Valley Vibes is that we're focused on mostly the arts and happenings here in the Valley, but there is something to be said about the artistic aspect of engineering and stuff like that.
Yeah, I see it as it's science, but I also see it as art, because there's beauty to the creation, in my opinion, doing all that math, tinkering, designing, seeing the finished product, and actually using what you've created.
Yeah, and you have a 3D printer, so that literally entails opening up the same 3D modeling software that, artists use.
Yeah, I still need to fix it, by the way. I need to splice cables.
Well, I suppose I don't really have much more to say. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you.
I'm currently sitting here with Seth Vega, who is a member of the engineering and architecture classes here at Central Union High School, as well as the robotics club. Seth, if you could just introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Seth Vega. I was in the engineering and architecture pathway. I took engineering essentials my freshman year, and for my junior year, I had computer integrated manufacturing. I probably should have taken the current engineering class, civil engineering for this year, but I ran out of space in my schedule.
I see. And Seth, we brought you on here to talk about how you got into STEM, the effects STEM has had on your life, and any future aspirations you have concerning STEM.
Well, how I got into STEM, I think I trace it back really to like before I got into middle school, because they had us choose our electives, and well, every other elective there was. Okay, so they had things like yearbook, music, and really at the time the other electives didn't really interest me, so I chose STEM because I figured, well, it's science, it's going to stimulate my brain, it might even help sometime down the future. So I joined it and I really enjoyed the class. We did all sorts of projects, we had to do like research. I remember there was like this one project where I had to make like some sort of product using research, so I tried to make like these I guess like foot comforters with like sponges, dish sponges and cloth. Yeah, it was just like, you know, kind of like using your ingenuity and stuff.
And what effect would you say STEM has had on your life in the present moment?
Well, in the present moment, it's had an effect in a various amount of ways, mainly with the classes that I'm taking, I've been taking chemistry, engineering, as you've mentioned before, physics, and I'm really doing this to prepare myself for my future. And also it's had like other kinds of effects. I've gone to competitions because of STEM, like the first robotics competition when I joined the robotics club. I've, been to UC San Diego for STEM. I've been to Cal Poly Pomona for STEM. Cal Poly Pomona for STEM. STEM was also it influenced how I picked my colleges or what colleges I was interested in, because I was looking at UCSD. I know they have like a program there. And I was also looking at this school in northern Arizona called Embry-Riddle, and they seem to have a pretty good program over there too. And I was looking at other types of schools.
Okay, and concerning the future, as you mentioned, what exactly are your plans currently?
Well, my plans are actually STEM related. I'm going to UCSD, and I'm going to be majoring in aerospace engineering with space applications. And hopefully I get a job with like NASA or maybe some sort of other aerospace company. And
Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, not
Right.
I want to be the aerospace engineer that builds spaceships, not missiles.
All right. Well, Boeing then.
Maybe not Boeing because of.
Okay. Well, regardless, aerospace engineering.
Yes, I'm shooting for the stars.
All right. Okay.
Literally.
Is there anything you would have to say on the importance of STEM? Not just here in the Valley, but sort of to people's education in general.
Well, the importance, I feel, it's simply the way of the future. I feel like more people are going into STEM, probably because it pays well. But, I guess people being smarter collectively, I guess, makes a better society. I wouldn't know.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Seth.
Thank you, Daniel. It's been a pleasure being here, and I hope you bring me in for the future.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently sitting here with Jaden and Giovanni Martin, two seniors who are enrolled in STEM classes here at Central Union High School. If you could both just introduce yourselves.
Hi, this is Giovanni. And I'm Jaden Martin.
And we brought you in here to talk about what got you into STEM, the effect that STEM has had on your life in the present moment, and any sort of future aspirations you might have concerning STEM.
So, when I came to Central Union High School, originally my idea was to join the military, but as I progressed through my first year, halfway through, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which basically threw my plan A out the window. So after that, I was kind of left without direction. So through the discovery of the CTE pathways that the school Central Union provides, I discovered my initial pathway of computer science. Even though computer science is not what I'm currently seeking right now, I feel like the program, the CTE pathway, has introduced me to the world of STEM, and it actually mostly encouraged me to pursue a career in STEM and my academics. As of currently, I'm going to be enrolled in UCSD, and I'm going to be pursuing a degree in biochemistry. I'm currently taking AP Chemistry, which is what initially got me into the biochemistry field and made me want to pursue it. But originally my initial plan was military.
All right, Jaden.
Okay, so what got me into the STEM pathways, or just interested in STEM in the first place? I've always been interested in like sciences, just like very broadly. But the first pathway I took here at Central Union High School was the biochemistry the biomedical pathway. Yeah, and that was actually an accident. So what caused that to happen was that my previous freshman year, I had taken French because I was not allowed. There was no room in the Spanish classes. So in my sophomore year, I had applied for Spanish 1, and they also put me in French 2. So I didn't want that class. So by the time I had gotten to communicate that with the office, they had said there were only a few classes that I could take, and one of them was the human body system. So I was like, oh, I might as well just do that. And that kind of like jump-started my whole relationship with STEM in high school, at least. And so ever since then, I took the human body systems class, which was the first year. Our current biomedical head, I think, Mrs. Quintero, that was her first year here. So I was actually in her first class, and I think I was like one of the only sophomores in that class. So I was with her in the trailers, and it was like kind of rough because she was still trying to figure out stuff, and we had very limited supplies and stuff because the STEM building was still being made. And so ever since then, I took her for my first year, and then after that, I went on to do the science fair the next year because I took AP Bio, and in my junior year, along with medical interventions. So when I took AP Bio, Dr. Retta had an assignment for a science fair project, and she offered extra credit for those who would actually create a full-blown science project and would present it at the county science fair. So I actually did that, and I went on to win first place in the county science fair. I went on to go to San Diego, the science fair, the engineering and science fair. I got tied first place for biochemistry there, and then I went on to go to state. So it's just weird to think that all of that was just catalyzed by an accident.
I see. And do you have any sort of future aspirations concerning STEM?
Yeah, I'm going to major in biochemistry and go to UC San Diego, the same as my brother. So I'm going to try to pursue a career in that, potentially maybe in the military. But yeah.
Before we close out the segment, is there anything either of you would have to say about the importance of STEM, not just here in the Valley, but to education in general?
Yeah. As we move on in time, we know that STEM is definitely going to be grow more and more a part of everyone's lives, no matter who you are. And so as we move forward, the education system has to move forward too and start pushing STEM. I know it has here, like we built the STEM building and everything, but yeah, it's just to show that the importance of STEM as a subject. It teaches people skills and like for example, computer science, it definitely showed me skills that I would have never learned before. And it's just a great tool for people who may not even think they're going to need it, but definitely will as we move forward. So.
Yeah, just piggybacking off what my brother said, just like as society is moving on, especially the direction that we're going now, it seems that like technology and science is just going to become a large part of like our world and how it works. And so just pushing STEM, just like my brother said, school system's going to have to like evolve and start pushing STEM like it has been already. Like our school's been doing it, and we're just like a small little like town in like in the middle of the desert. But so yeah, STEM's just it's going to be important from now on. It's just going to be part of how the education system's going to have to be now. So,
all right, thank you both very much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm currently sitting here with Victor Lopez, a senior here at Central Union High School who is enrolled in a few STEM classes. Victor, if you could just introduce yourself.
My name is Victor Lopez. I'm currently I'm finishing the civil engineering and computer science pathways here at Central.
And Victor, we brought you in here today to sort of talk about how you got into STEM, STEM's impact on your current life, any future aspirations you might have concerning STEM, and also, sort of your thoughts on the art aspect of STEM.
Yeah. So first of all, getting into STEM, it was probably affected by a lot of video games, such as maybe like Halo, other sci-fi games. And looking at the math side of it, which I felt like I've been better at math, it just kind of drew me in. I could depend on numbers, basically.
Right. Yeah, because it's a lot less abstract, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, numbers always follow the same rules. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, it's a logic system.
Right. And what would you say STEM's current impact has been on your life?
Most of my hobbies revolve around sort of like STEM things.
Yeah.
I bought an expensive computer at the beginning of the pandemic just because of that. I've been doing stuff such as CAD modeling, like making 3D models based on like numbers, as well as I bought a 3D printer. I've been working with like it's basically kind of robotics, I guess.
Do you have any sort of future aspirations that might concern STEM?
Getting a job where I can do some similar things like that instead of, just kind of slaving away in a cubicle. Kind of doing what I'm good with, which is mostly numbers.
Making doodads?
Making dingamajigs, the doohickeys.
Right. And you're also into coding, is that correct? Computer science?
Yeah, we've been learning Java the entire year, basically.
Right. Well, you might be slaving away in a cubicle working on that then.
Yeah, I know. It's just going to be a different shaped cubicle.
Exactly. One that you 3D printed.
Slaved by my own creations.
Exactly. Now, Victor, you're, for lack of a better term, you're rather artistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we also wanted to ask about your thoughts on, STEAM, the art aspect of STEM. So could you give us a little bit on that?
Yeah. Well, I viewed the connection between them as very not close, but affecting each other. It's kind of weird to explain. For example, for sci-fi stuff, right? You get somebody that likes sci-fi but doesn't really understand the engineering behind it, and so they make something that makes sense to them. And then somebody that actually knows might bring it into closer into reality.
Right, they might make the design a little bit more plausible.
Yes, exactly. Like cosplayers working like
suits.
Exosuits, yeah, exoskeletons. Like they've been made more plausible because originally it was just kind of like an art design thing, power armor.
Right.
And now they're used to help people in like medical fields, people that are missing strength in limbs.
I see. And there's also, I suppose, something to be said about the art that goes into engineering, as Donovan brought up in a former segment.
Yeah. So, for example, there's civil engineers and there's architects. Well, civil engineers and structural engineers and all that, they take care of the actual plausibility and the strength of like a building.
Yeah, going back to the example of like cosplayers, an architect draws what they think looks good, and it's the civil engineer's job to take a look at that and make it work.
Yeah, something I heard a long time ago that made a lot of sense. An architect's dream is an engineer's nightmare.
Exactly. So yeah, there's something to be said about the link there.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, very cause and effect, but kind of far from each other.
Right, distantly related.
Distantly related, yes, distant cousins.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Victor.
Yeah, it's been awesome to have been doing an interview for the first time here.
Yeah, it's actually his first time in the recording studio. He was amazed. All right. So, yeah, once again, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And to cap off the episode, we'd like to hear from a few of our STEM teachers here at Central. We brought in Mr. Peña and Mr. Ortiz, who, among other things, teach physics and engineering here at Central Union High School, to speak on STEM's importance from the perspective of STEM teachers. I'm currently here with Mr. Ortiz, who is a STEM teacher here at Central Union High School. If you could just introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Ortiz, and I teach for our CT Engineering Technology pathway here at Central.
All right, if you could just tell us a little bit about your areas of expertise, what you do here besides teaching engineering.
Okay, so just a little bit of my background. I actually have a degree in engineering. I worked in San Diego for about 5 years for a company that built airplane parts. And then I decided to move back home. I'm here from the Valley. I grew up here, and so I actually transitioned over to teaching. I started off as a math teacher the first couple years, and then I was lucky enough for Central to invest heavily on this STEM field. They built our new building and decided to offer some type of engineering pathway for our students. And since I had the background, it was an easy move for me from doing math to engineering. The courses are they're delivered using some curriculum that we've purchased, but really the expertise that I gained at my previous job has to do with CNC milling, and so we have almost like a mini machine shop downstairs in our robotics lab. So that's really where I feel like I have that kind of quality or make the difference, because I saw that firsthand when I was on my previous job.
I see, and you are also. You also play a very important role in the robotics club here at Central, is that correct?
Right, so this is my third year. I just finished my third year doing the robotics club. Prior to that, I definitely always want to give credit to Mr. Garcia, because the program has been so successful, and it's ran really, really well because he spent a good 14 years building it. So I kind of just took the reins. So the first couple of years were a tough learning curve. It's a lot of hours outside of our regular classroom time. Usually we spend a good 120 hours aside from our typical school days with students downstairs. They go ahead and get an idea of what their robot should be able to do early January of every year. And then we start designing it, building it, testing it, coding it, wiring it. And hopefully we have enough time to do some practice with it before competition, which is usually like late March. So in about 2.5 months, we have to design and build a robot from scratch.
Okay. To close out the segment, I wanted to ask about your perspective on STEM and its importance here in the Valley, just from your perspective as a teacher.
Okay. So I did it, luckily I'm teaching, but I actually had, this role of a manufacturing engineer at a company. And now that I'm teaching it, I think that I tell my students, hey, the stuff that we're using, that we're buying, everything has to do with technology nowadays. Yes, you might be able to find the toy or a gadget where there's no actual circuits or no technology involved in it. But for the most part, anything that we're purchasing as a society has some type of tech. So we have the ability here at Central to learn this early on, so that by the time we get to a university, the kids have a slight leg up. They've been exposed to it, and they can continue being the actual people that are fed or that are feeding that cycle of engineers, right? I don't see us ever going back. So this is going to be a growing field, whatever engineering discipline you want to pick. I think that we're going to keep needing that workforce. So if we can do it here at Central early on, I think it helps us. In my experience, I didn't really get any exposure to any type of engineering discipline until I got to college. So by the time I got there, some kids did have that experience, and it does make a difference. So I think that this year, or these 2 years, as the program develops, the kids will have that advantage for sure.
Especially with the quality of the facilities here at the STEM building, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So my classroom is a computer lab. We call it our engineering lab because we do have like 3D printers and a laser bed. So we can prototype something real quick, right? Not just the software piece of it. But then downstairs you have a mini machine shop that you'd see some in the industry where people are actually building parts that they can go on a spacecraft or automobile or some type of application in the medical industry. So yes, most definitely. I think we're very lucky to have this space.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Ortiz.
You're welcome.
I'm currently here with Mr. Peña, who is a physics teacher here at Central Union High School. If you could just introduce yourself.
Good morning, Daniel. My name is Alejandro Peña. I work as a physics teacher, and I went to UCSD, graduated from UCSD, and I started working at Central 27 years ago. And I've taught biology, chemistry, and earth science.
Pretty much every science in the book, then.
Almost.
Okay. So, Mr. Peña, we brought you in here to discuss your perspective on the importance of STEM, not just to Central, but here in the Valley in general. But of course, coming from you as a teacher.
Right. I strongly believe that students should be introduced into the STEM studies. Right now, besides students getting some critical skills in studying in STEM, there's a growing demand for those highly skilled workers, and you can get those through math and science.
I see. And you know, a lot of extra focus is being placed on STEM nowadays, especially with the construction of the STEM building fairly recently.
Right.
So, do you have any sort of thoughts on the newer facilities here?
Oh, definitely. This is a new majestic building. We have over 30 rooms, and they're specifically designed for the math courses, the science courses, the health pathway, and the engineering pathway as well.
Yeah, and there's certainly a more, how shall I say, accurate atmosphere to it. It feels a lot more like a proper lab now.
Oh, it does. It does. The rooms are conditioned to, every room is conditioned to teach the specific discipline. For example, the chemistry labs, they have their stations. Here for physics, we have ample room. We have plenty of room for students to move around, and this is perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And now we have windows.
Oh, yeah. Although we did have some windows in the old buildings, but but that was an old building.
Exactly. And we have a better view now. We're on the second story.
Yeah, and this is a beautiful, beautiful building.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Peña.
Thank you.
And thus concludes our little look at STEM. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Before we fully close things out, I would like to encourage our listeners to visit the Spartan Sound Productions YouTube channel to find episodes of Valley Vibes uploaded about a day after broadcast, in addition to various student-made audio works. That is at Spartan Sound Productions on YouTube.com. That is at Spartan Sound Productions on YouTube.com. This is Daniel Montoya, signing off until Sunday, 9 a.m. next week with another episode of Valley Vibes.
This program was produced and brought to you by Spartan Sound Productions. Special thanks to our guests, Mr. Craig Lyon, Mr. Alejandro Peña, Mr. Alex Ortiz, Violet Montes, Seth Vega, Victor Lopez, Jaden and Giovanni Martin, and Donovan Flores. We'd also like to recognize our production team, Daniel Montoya and Soren Dorantes, Dr. Thomas Tacky, creator and director of Spartan Sound Productions, the administration of Central Union High School and the Central Union High School District, and Mr. Javier Fimbres and Power 98 for hosting us, and to you, the listeners.